this is a huge question. The reason is on a personal level, because it's something that I always wanted to overcome. I have done a couple of little talks in the past. I also went on stage in front of 2,000 people one time to start a running event when I was working in radio, but that wasn't a talk. And when you're talking into a microphone, you learn all those skills about using your voice, about intonation, about how to deliver stuff. But I wanted to experience what it was like to actually talk to people directly and to be able to get the feedback from their eyes and from them. Because when you're on the radio or when you're doing a podcast, which is the main thing that I'm interested in, you don't get that back. And to feel what the audience needs, to see whether you're delivering what is actually giving them value, and to be able to move on to something else if it's not, I think will be and is absolutely fascinating. So speaking is something that is incredibly new for me. I've literally only done a few things before. So I just really wanted to give it a try and start doing that. And this whole podcasting thing is something I'm so passionate about and something I'm so interested in, that when this came up and I saw this particular event coming up on a speaking group, I thought this is something that I would love to pitch and sort of say, look, I'd like to give something on this. So, and then there was another event through my work. So I'm doing that one as well. But really, it was just about, I just wanted to start sharing some of these ideas and trying to help people with what I had learned. The biggest thing I've learned is that podcasting, I mean, I said this before, is not just about picking up a microphone and broadcasting. If you do it right, you've actually got a strategic tool that you can deliberately use for building a business. And when I was trying to make podcasts before, I was taking very much the kind of gut feel approach, and it wasn't working. And when you look at how people do it that get the results, you can see how they can build this network, how they build this brand, and how they build this following. So I think people need to realize that there is this powerful tool out there, and it connects in with speaking as well, because obviously you're broadcasting your voice, you're broadcasting your ideas and your thoughts. And that tool is not going to go away. The reason I say that is because although everyone talks about the fact that the big broadcasters are taking over podcasting, people will still want niche content. They will still want something that the big broadcasters cannot deliver and cannot justify putting the content into. If you're reaching people, if you're reaching a few thousand people, a big broadcaster cannot justify that. But those few thousand people could be desperate for the content you produce. So the opportunity for you to deliver niche content to a bigger and bigger audience and build your brand and business in the same process, I think is going to carry on growing as people get better and better at it. At the moment, people are still dabbling with podcasting. They're still sort of doing a bit of this, bit of that, trying different things. But I think as people start to get better at it and it gets easier and real talent with real things to say, like speakers, come into it, the opportunities are going to get better and better. So I think the future is incredibly bright for people using these tools in a more remote world. If you're not building your business, your speaking business fast enough because you can't get out to enough meetings or enough networking, this is a way that is clearly working for a huge number of podcasters and in turn can work for speakers. So this will give you, I will show you how to do it, what the opportunities are, the different techniques you can use. If you only want to spend 30 minutes in an entire month doing it, I will show you how you can benefit from that. If you want to spend more time, I'll show you how to do that too. And if you're afraid of the technology, I will show you how it's changed and how you can now use that as a technophobe, or if you just don't want to waste your time learning a bunch of stuff. There are too many people. My entire life has been a fascinating journey of meeting interesting people. I mean, it feels like it's a little bit off topic, but one thing I never wanted to do when I first started in life was have a boring office job. And when I lost my boring office job because I didn't enjoy it when I was in my mid-20s, and a few years later ended up in a national newsroom as an editor, talking to the most fascinating people, from senior politicians to prostitutes to criminals, and learning from all these incredibly different people. I mean, I remember interviewing people who I vehemently disagreed with, and yet I wanted to learn what they were like. And I think every single one of these people has influenced me and driven me and inspired me. Because, and then in politics as well, you meet so many different people there as well. You've got people who are genuinely passionate about what they do. You've got people who just want to get elected. You've got people who have got issues that they're dealing with, the politicians trying to help with. You've got bureaucracy. You've got the way our government works. You're meeting all these people. And then you look at national media and what media has become, and it's so simplistic, and there are all these voices out there, all this information, all these incredible things going on in our world that have inspired me, and I would like to get more of those voices out there. I want to get more people heard, more of these niche voices. So it's those voices, the many that I cannot count, that have inspired me in what I do now and what drives me today. There's no single person. There've been so many fascinating stories because I didn't take an office job for a career for life. The first thing I would say is that the most important thing to do as an interviewer, if you're dealing with something controversial, is to start listening to your guest and stop trying to impose your own views on them. This is one of the biggest problems with modern media, is that sadly, a lot of presenters now are no longer journalists. They're just people, they're just presenters who want to build their own reputation. And in order to do that, they add their own point of view, ask controversial questions to try and catch the person out. They're not interested in finding out what someone actually thinks. They're just trying to produce a performance. Now, when I interviewed people, my approach was always to listen to them. It didn't matter what I thought. My job in my mind was to find out how they thought about things and to help them express how they thought to the audience so that the audience could decide. I'll give you an example. When I did a documentary on prostitution, which is one of the ones that I'm most proud of. And the reason I did it is because prostitution had always been treated in two ways. One as a sort of titillating sort of hee, you know, naughty men going behind a back street, or it had been treated as this must be stopped immediately, it is morally repugnant. Well, like all things in the real world, nothing is black and white. Everything has got shades of grey. So I spent time with the Vice Squad. I spent time with drug agencies where girls were going into. I spent time in brothels, talking to prostitutes, talking to sex tourists, and researching this. And I didn't conclude it. I didn't get to the end and say, we must get rid of this. I got to the end and I said, you've heard from everyone now. I'd like you to decide. So I did not round up that piece, that documentary I made, with any, this is what must happen. It was, now you decide. Because when you looked at it, there was a madam in a brothel who, because of what she was doing, was putting her two boys, she'd come from a very hard background, was putting her two boys through a very expensive private school. She had a very nice house. But in the same breath, you've got 60% of prostitutes who are doing it to fund a drug habit. So there is no single answer to almost any issue. There is no yes or no. There is no right or wrong. There are shades. And that, again, is what fascinates me about these people. So we've got to let people tell their stories. And as an interviewer, you have got to think, how can I help them tell their interpretation of things, not mine? And that's the most important. I think if you do that, if you take that mental approach, you know, some people, when they're doing interviews, will write down a series of questions and say, I've got to ask this, I've got to ask this, I've got to ask this. No, you don't. Listen to what the person is saying. Listen to it and help them tell their story. It is not about you. It is about them. Oh God, I could go on for hours. Seriously, this annoys me so much. It's about that mental mindset. You know, I did this, this is something else I'm going to bring up in my talk as well, about bridging to different stories and about how you can appear on podcasts which don't seem relevant. Is if you are, and this was about teachers in a classroom, and they were sort of saying, well, you know, if you're telling a student to get in to do something, and it's like, well, in journalism, you've got to get into their head. Why is it that they're not reacting to you? Why have you not built rapport? Don't wait for them to come to you. You've got to meet them some degree their way. And once you've built rapport, then you can pull them over. So if you're interviewing someone who's really awkward and is concerned about you, you've first got to build that connection. And once you've got that connection, then you can start digging into it. And that can only come by the mindset you have. If you go into it like, I need answers from you, it's not going to work. But if you go into it with the mindset of, I want to learn about you, I want to understand you so I can motivate you, then you're going to get them.